and welcome to Health Matters on Channels Television. Thanks for joining us. I am Mary Alale Yusuf. The hospital is the best place to go when you are ill, but sometimes unfortunate things happen. According to the World Health Organization, 1 out of 10 patients suffers some kind of harm in healthcare. More than half of these cases can be prevented. Common occurrences that may cause harm include medication errors, diagnostic errors, unsafe surgical procedures, and healthcare-associated infections, among many other things. Contrary to what many think, investment in reducing patient harm can lead to financial savings for healthcare settings and the nation, and more importantly, better patient outcomes. An example of a good return on investment is patient engagement, which, if done well, can reduce the burden of harm by up to 15%. My guest on the show is a lawyer, a public health activist, and CEO of Diverse Health Society, Adama Odefa. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mary. It's good to be here.
Now, let's start with this case that's out there of medical malpractice involving a 16-year-old patient, where the doctor was charged and sentenced. How often does this happen?
Not often. This is the first time. It's a landmark case. And what happened in this case was that the boy injured himself playing basketball, was taken to this place, XLC Medical Center, and the doctor who attended him, Dr. Ejike Ferdinand Orji, immediately sedated the boy and asked 2 non-medical professionals, an orderly and a policeman, to manipulate the boy's leg, to pull his leg. And then he went on to fit him a fiberglass cast from his thigh all the way to his toes, then sent the boy for an x-ray in a different facility. So when the boy before the boy could come back with the x-ray result with his mother, he had even left the center. So he told the woman to take the boy home. The boy came to from the sedation and was in excruciating pain. He couldn't sleep. The mother called and the doctor said, "Oh, it's okay. Just give him 2 days. He'll snap out of it." Nobody snaps out of pain like that, you know, Mary. So she took the boy home, but the pain went on all night and got worse. So she returned the boy to him the following day. And then instead of taking off the cast, the woman begged him, "Take the cast off. This boy is obviously uncomfortable. He's suffering because of this cast." He made a window at the back of the cast, then asked her to take him home. She took him home, and then fluid was oozing out of the window behind the boy's leg. And so she ran back the next day. This has happened in the space of 2 days. Ran back the next day. This boy is getting worse. And to make matters worse, a peer of his who is practicing away in the States, who was sent the x-ray, also sought the opinion of orthopedic surgeons around him and then called him personally. That peer happened to be his classmate and said, "Please take this cast off. It's not needed." He refused. Eventually, he took part of the cast off, but by then, the boy had suffered an occlusion to the compartment syndrome, which is caused by an occlusion of blood to the leg. So basically, the leg was dying off. So at that point, they now took the boy to a different facility where it was diagnosed that this is the problem, and it was caused by this fiberglass cast. And this guy obviously misdiagnosed the boy. Well, it was...
Investigations say the doctor shouldn't, and he is a doctor, by the way.
He is a doctor, yes, but not an orthopedic surgeon.
He shouldn't have been doing this kind of
He
procedure.
shouldn't have. That was what his peers said at the Medical and Dental Council investigation panel. They said, they were asking, why this? Why not a simple POP? We couldn't get the answer of that. Why didn't you take it off when this kid was obviously in pain and you told that you were reducing the quality of his living? Why didn't you just take it off? He had no answer to that. And a lot of other things. Why didn't you refer him to an orthopedic surgeon?
What does it say about the quality of our referral system?
It says that there's a need to address the way doctors handle patients, the arrogance, like in this case, the arrogance of it, the refusing to be wrong, the refusing to ask for help is wrong. You need to ask for help, especially when it is not your expertise. And now, because of this guy and the things he did, that boy went through 15 surgeries in total.
15?
15 surgeries in total.
Just to correct that?
Just to correct that, and narrowly missed having his leg amputated. And today, he still has to live live with complications from a foot drop. He's suffering foot drop now and a lot of other things. So he has to live with this for the rest of his life. So basically, this doctor, Ejike Ferdinand Orji, maimed this child.
But the parents sought redress.
The parents sought redress and
you know, that is the major reason for this,
yes,
patient
that's the
safety.
takeaway. Mm-hmm.
But we'll come to that later. The National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, by the way, has just put out a statement yesterday saying that the person who administered care to the popular late musician Mohbad is not actually a nurse.
That's another problem.
Okay, so how did we get here? We have somebody who is not a nurse doing nursing work.
Yeah, but that is a different case. That will have nothing to do with MDCN. There's nothing MDCN can do about it. That is totally criminal. Because in the first case,
Don't they have a nurses' council?
They have a nurses' council, but nurses' council are to regulate their profession, those who are registered with them, just like the medical council will regulate those who are registered with them. Now, Ejike Ferdinand is registered with the medical council. He is a doctor. He's a doctor. He's a general surgeon. He's a general surgeon, yes, orthopedic surgeon. He's a doctor, medicine. Yes. But he's not an orthopedic surgeon. He's not an orthopedic surgeon. So he couldn't have...
So let me ask you, how does a patient know? What kind of boxes can a patient check to be sure that a real professional is handling his case or her case?
Well, I'm sure you go to a proper hospital. I suppose you go to a proper hospital. Like in this case, they went to a proper hospital. They've used the hospital before. They know that the doctors there are real doctors. But now there's a difference between getting hurt by a real doctor and getting hurt by a quack doctor. Now, when you're hurt by a quack doctor, that's an entirely different case from when you're hurt by a real doctor. Because with a real doctor, you expect the doctor to respect the do no harm oath. Do no harm oath means this patient, this human life is above and beyond my ego, my knowledge, myself, my clinic, my whatever. You have to make sure that that patient is protected by all means. And that is where Ejike dropped the ball. Ferdinand Ejike Orji, he dropped the ball there.
He should have made a referral.
He should have made a referral. He should have asked an orthopedic surgeon to come and look, and then he should have waited for an x-ray before doing something about the bone. It wasn't an emergency case. You've broken a bone
and it was
before.
A full leg
I've broken a bone before.
Instead of just a knee cast.
The boy fractured his knee. Fiberglass all the way from his thigh to his toes. The kid could not move his toes. The kid had so many symptoms. He was in pain, constant pain. Constant pain, and he ignored all the appeals to take the cast off. Why he was desperate to keep the cast on, I really don't know. But because he had that tight cast on, according to experts, that in 2 days, compartment syndrome would set in if you're denied, if your leg is denied blood flow like that, and your leg is tightened in a cast. Yes.
What would happen to a patient if he wanted to seek redress? And the doctor wasn't really at fault? Maybe he just felt something went wrong. Would it be detrimental to that patient? Because I have a feeling that many cases don't get out. And they don't get out because the patients are scared that they will come with some medical, jargon that will flatten their case.
But just like you were saying, patient participation, first of all, you must get a second opinion. And that was what happened in this case of Ejike Orji. Second opinion, when they saw how the boy was being treated, they moved him to a different hospital under the care of an orthopedic surgeon.
Okay, so that's
the orthopedic surgeon who now diagnosed the boy properly and then started the series of surgeries that paved the way to eventually saving the boy's leg. So the first thing is seek a second opinion. And government, maybe you can go to government hospitals. It's very, very unlikely, maybe almost impossible, that a state government or a federal government would hire a quack. No, will hire a quack. So in the first place, at least you're sure that whoever is attending to you is actually a medical doctor. And it's also, if you're not too sure, you could also try to find out from the register. There's a register with the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria of doctors.
Is it open? Is it open to regular people? That's the question.
I think you can actually ask and find out. And if it's not, there should be a system where you're able to find out. Like lawyers, for example, there's a website. You type in the person's name, it comes out and tells you whether the person is on the roll or not. So I suppose the doctors should have something like that if they don't, so that we check this quackery. But beyond quackery is a different thing, like I said. The big headache and the big problem is when actual medical doctors are negligent in treating patients and cause them harm. Because you were supposed, according to the indictment that for Ejikeoji, the patient is supposed to leave you better than they came. But in this case, the patient left worse than he came to him, which means he mishandled him.
What can the MDCN do about it?
The MDCN is actually doing a lot. And there are many ways to seek redress. They have mechanisms for seeking redress for medical negligence. And the mechanisms are very easy and straightforward to go through. There are three ways you can approach medical negligence. One, you can try criminal complaint to the police. And that is what the victim of Ferdinand Ejike did.
Criminal complaint to the police?
Yes.
Doesn't it take it out of the jurisdiction of MDCN?
No. You can do this concurrently. You can do a criminal complaint to the police. You could also do a civil suit to seek damages. So I've been hurt, pay me.
Okay.
You could do professional discipline, and that's where MDCN comes in. Professional discipline is that way. So in this case of Ejikeoji, the victim's mother reported Dr. Ferdinand Oji to the police, and at the same time petitioned the MDCN, the MDC investigation panel to seek redress. So he was being dealt with professionally, disciplined professionally, but the criminal justice system did not have to wait for that. They went ahead, but then they also relied on the information or the result of the investigation panel in helping to convict him, as well as expert witnesses.
Yeah, because they have to. Because these are medical things.
Yes.
And the terms may not be very familiar to them.
It's not something a lawyer should argue. Yes,
he was convicted. Taken to prison.
Yes, he was convicted on 4 counts. There were 6 counts preferred against him, and he was convicted on 4 counts and sentenced to 1 year for each of them, but to run concurrently. So he goes to prison, and after 3 months, he took advantage of the criminal justice system because they gave him bail on compassionate grounds based on health. But what he did next is what I can't wrap my mind around. He was let out of prison, then he took a video of himself dancing out of prison. Then he sourced the victim's father and forwarded that video to him. Like, oh, I hurt your kid, I almost killed your child, and you tried to get me into trouble and I'm out. What can you do about it? You know, it's so narcissistic.
As a lawyer, can anything be done?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Something can be done about it. Something can be done about it. Of course, I'm believing that within all of this, despite the criminal process and also the professional discipline part, I'm believing the family, or I would advise the family to also do a civil suit to seek damages, because none of this precludes them from seeking damages, especially now that he has been convicted. And mind you, Mary, this is an exciting case because this is the first time in the history of Nigeria in 2023 that a doctor is actually being found criminally negligent. Lagos State achieved that.
They've been slipping through some loopholes.
They've been slipping through, yes, they've been slipping through cracks. Because first of all, like you observed, it's not easy to convict a doctor because it's a technical field. You must bring an expert to testify. And that is where the problem is. It's not easy to bring an expert to testify against them. But in this case, the facts were so horrifying. The facts were so horrifying. This is not like, oh, he made a mistake. He broke the rules on so many ends. First of all, you sedated a minor, a child, no consent. Secondly,
we have to talk about that consent,
yes.
Just go on.
You sedated a child, no consent. You perform the procedure on the child, put in fiberglass cast, no consent, either from the child or from the mother. And then you treated before you diagnosed. You didn't even try to find out what kind of fracture, what you're dealing with before you treated. Then another one, you did not refer. Dr. Ferdinand Ejikoji, why don't you refer this kid?
We've got to go to break. When we come back,
surgeon?
we'll continue this discussion. Please stay with us. We're going on break. We'll be back right after now. Welcome back. It's Health Matters, and we're talking about patient safety, your safety in the hospital and out of it. The number to call if you have questions on the topic is 0808-054-2233. You can also get me on X at CTV_Mary A, or email me, moalale@channelstv.com. 4 questions on patient safety. We were talking about the consent form. Patients are supposed to fill a consent form. But if anything goes wrong, can the patient still seek redress?
Yes, because
in spite of the consent form.
Yeah, your consent would be that this procedure is going to be done on you. If it's negligently handled, of course you should seek redress. You did not give consent for you to get hurt or to get harmed. If there's a procedure and a process that the medical doctor should follow, like in this case, there are procedures and processes they should follow. And even his peers were asking, why didn't you just do a simple POP on the affected area?
I actually haven't ever heard of fiberglass cast until now.
I have no clue why a fiberglass cast was needed, all the way from the thigh to the toes.
How do you seek redress? Who do you go to? Do you write a letter? Do you walk up to the hospital? What do you do?
Okay, first, you can complain to the police. That's the criminal arm. That one is straightforward. Go to the police station, complain. Then you could seek civil redress, sue them, file a case in court. Now, professional discipline, which is very important, because if you do this, you're doing a service to humanity, because they could yank the license of the offender. Like in Ferdinand Ejikoji, his license was suspended by the MDC investigation panel. So if you're going to do that, if you're going to write to the Medical and Dental Council investigation panel, then you have to write to the secretary of that panel, and then you have to depose to an affidavit. Now, don't panic. Let me tell you how to depose to an affidavit. You go to a court. That's the easiest way, and depose to it through the Commissioner of Oaths. If you don't write or speak English very well, that's fine. The courts have the facility to help you with all that. Or you go to a notary public.
Okay, just a second. I'll stop you there a minute. We have a call coming in. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. What's your question?
Hello.
Are you there? What's your question? Okay, we'll wait for that to be sorted out. You do the affidavit.
Yes, you do the affidavit, and then you have to state there's a format for an affidavit. I'm sure they will help you over there. Then you send the hard copy.
Even if you don't speak English.
Even if you don't speak English, the courts have the facilities to help you. So that will be an easy way out. If you think you need a little more, you have some money to spend, you can go to a notary public, who is a private sector. Of course, they're going to charge you a fee. Now, very, very important, folks, if you're going to seek redress, make sure you have locus standi, meaning the person is your family, or you have some ties or some connection that makes you entitled to seek redress. It's like, for example...
I'm not tracking.
Okay. For example, medical negligence is done, say, on your cameraman there. I don't know him. I'm not related to him. I have no interest, basically, no legal interest in him. So I shouldn't be the one complaining for him.
Okay.
It should be his family.
The person complaining should have an attachment or a tie.
A stand-in, yes.
Okay.
It could be him complaining, it could be his wife, his children, his parents,
There's a problem
family.
here, though, which I see, which is usually when you have a complaint, you're going to court, you have proof of certain things. But in this case, you're a patient. You haven't even seen your case note. You don't know the jargon you're talking about.
Complain, they're going to start investigating. But in your complaint, there's something, there are red flags. You should be careful. Don't allege criminal responsibility if you're complaining to the Medical and Dental Council investigation panel. Don't say, oh, he killed my father, or he killed my grandfather, or whatever, because then it's a murder case, it's criminal, and they won't be able to handle it.
I think there's been malpractice?
Just say, I believe this person was negligent. It was negligent in the way he treated my auntie or uncle, and this may have led to his death and blah, blah, blah. Now, remember, it's called an investigation panel. What that does is they now begin to investigate. They will call for your case notes. They will bring witnesses. Like in this case, in the Ejike Ferdinand Orji case, the victim's family came. They got case notes. Other doctors from that XLC Medical Center came. Dr. Ejike Ferdinand Orji himself came. Initially, he was charged alongside his wife, but eventually they dropped the case against his wife and then just focused on him because he was the main culprit here.
Okay, let's try and get this call from Ibadan. Hello.
Concerning the case that your guest said, please, we want to find out what was the conclusion of the matter, because this is still traumatizing for the little boy or the girl or whoever it is.
I think I got the size of it. So the conclusion of the matter.
He's been in prison for 1 year, even though he got out after 3 months and sent that vengeful, awful, despicable video to the victim's father. So they're still looking at it, and the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria has referred him to their tribunal.
Okay, so he's still under investigation.
He's still under, from there, professional investigation, yes, but for criminal liability, he now has criminal liability. He's got this conviction, and it's how do I put it? He's now the face of medical negligence because he's the first person to be actually convicted. And I must give a lot of kudos to Lagos State. Lagos is making giant strides and being first there. I guess when they call themselves Center of Excellence, I guess you guys really are, because it's never happened before. And the way they tenaciously pursued this case, conclusion, and got their conviction.
And maybe other states will follow. But we have a call from Philip. Hello, Philip.
Yeah. My take on this is how do we determine the medical health of some medical practitioners? Because from the education.
Unfortunately, I think I've lost that.
Hello?
Yes, go on.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I say in educated case, medical doctors.
I think he's trying to say, how do you know somebody is for real and is not a quack?
The real doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I said, try with the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria,
So you
because
should
they
try
have a
to check
register.
some sort of register.
Yes, there's a register, and I'm sure if you get on their website or something, you may have a way of asking for this person's credentials. Just give them the full name, and you could ask the doctor. I think in some
that
countries
the medical
you are
council
mandated
has
to
something they put on their signboard or by the hospital to show that we're for real.
And abroad, you have doctors mandated to have their diploma, their qualification hanging on their wall. So you look at it, okay, you graduated from University of Lagos in so year, and blah, 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 blah. This is when you became a doctor. So it's easy to trace and find out when this person became a doctor and if they actually are a doctor. And like I said earlier, the government hospitals are less likely to hire a quack than the private hospitals. So there's stronger vet in there. So maybe you can go to a government hospital to, if you just want to be very sure, or at least to get a referral, because it's likely they would refer you to their colleagues in the private sector who are really doctors.
Okay, so there are some things in our society we can't ignore, which make healthcare that much more difficult. Like the absence of an ambulance system, like not having so many doctors. Let me just quickly go back to the nurses case, where they also said in their statement that there is no such thing as an auxiliary nurse. Now that shocked me because I grew up hearing about auxiliary nurses, but it's probably because of this problem of not having enough people. So, what's your suggestion?
That's a whole big topic, Mary. That's a whole big topic and outside the scope of our discussion here. Our discussion here, or for me, my work is you found your way to a doctor, an actual doctor, and he or she did something they shouldn't have done, and you suffered as a result. Seek redress. Go after them. You can get redress. You can get justice, not just for yourself and your loved one, like in this landmark case, but also for everybody else.
For everybody else.
For everybody else, because now we know it's possible for a medical doctor to be convicted. Now we know a medical doctor can actually go to prison because of what they did or didn't do in medical practice. Ejike Ferdinand Oji is a convict now. And the justice system stood firm for this kid and got justice for him. So it can be done. Other states out there, please do it. Follow Lagos' example. Do it. Pay attention. When people come and report,
for the sake of better
medical care, so that doctors will be a lot more careful. So they'll be a lot more careful. It's not only always about money. Life is much more important than money. So,
and on that note, we have to go. Our time is up. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for being on the program and for calling in. Have a lovely day. I am Mary Alale Yusuf.